Hi, everyone. I'm Derek, the community steward at ETH Denver, aka SparkDAO, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Reka from Guild.xyz. Hi, Reka.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be having an informal chat about Reka's story, what she's been biddling at Guild.xyz, and then we're going to maybe even transition into a more long form conversation about uh, modern marketing techniques in the 21st century with like the social media tools at our disposal and how, as one of our mutual friends put it, every company is a media company. So to that end, let's dive in. Rika,
Yeah.
without using any word that has anything to do with crypto, who are you?
Me as a person?
Yeah, you as a person, your story.
Well,
How did you get to be where you are? Tell me everything before I started Guild.xyz.
whoa. Do we have the time? Well,
We definitely have the time.
I'm a vet by training, um, which is a long shot from anything crypto related. But I also had a startup in sustainable agriculture and food production, which is really exciting. I did that before this, and I also started a couple of organizations for my fellow students during university, which was also very interesting. But I've been very interested in, as I was learning to be a vet, I became more and more interested in becoming more of like a manager. And then I was like, yeah, psychology, okay, and then marketing, and like all these other stepping stones that kind of lead you into more of a online existence and working with people rather than healing animals, which I was learning to be doing. So I fully appreciated my own courage and interests, and I went ahead and followed them. And I started like small online little mini work things, and mostly in social media. And then I started working in crypto, and then I also graduated in the meantime while I was already a founder. So I'm now a diploma owner, crypto founder person, which is cool. Yeah, I'm from like Central Eastern Europe, but I am traveling now all over the world. I'm very fortunate in that. And I always really, really like to learn new things and not be stuck in my learning progress and follow my curiosity more. And I think like my professional flow also kind of shows that I'm more interested in following my passions and interests, which has turned out to be pretty good. And as like a founder, it is really important that you understand a lot of things and can do a lot of different roles at the same time. So then you can hire and like teach other people to do the same and also fill in those roles at the same time. So it turned out to be really useful. I got a lot of like shit for it for a while that like, oh, why are you changing career paths? Like that's not very effective. You could just be mastering one thing, be a specialist. And I'm like, no, no, no. That's not, that's not interesting for me. I'm not like, I don't know, that's not me. So I'm more of a, my friends say generalist. I don't know, but like I have multiple different skill sets, which are really, really useful in this space. So I kind of found my spot here 2 years ago, and I've been building ever since. I've been in it a little bit since 2016, but I only started actively building 2 years ago, which has been a very, very, very interesting experience. It feels more like 2 years. I feel like I've aged a little bit in these 2 years, but in a good way as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the story that led up to here, and yeah,
Yeah, the part that struck me the most was becoming like founder before you'd even finished your university degree. The like level of ambition in your life
yeah,
and in your mind, and how you just throw yourself at things for the sake of learning and excitement, and always growing, just always trying, experimenting, just wanting to see how this all works. I appreciate that
yeah.
about you.
Thank you. I recently, I do a lot of like self inspection, so that I think that's a very good growth tool as well, knowing yourself really, really well. And I had a digging when I found this memory of I was a kid in primary school, and so like this, because I also noticed how like I'm very bold, ambitious type of person, and like where did that come from? Did I develop this over the years, or was I always like that? And I discovered that when I was a kid in primary school, I loved English. Like that was one of my favorite subjects. And my mom could decide if from fifth grade I get to go to a 3 hour class, which is like 3 hours per week, which is kind of like the people who don't really care about English that much, or the 5 hour class with all the cool kids who like love English. And she decided, she's like, oh, she would have a lot of homework in the 5 hour class. Let's put her in the three class. And I'm like, she didn't ask me. And I was like, no, I hate this. So then, you know, I talked to the headmistress and I asked for how can I make it happen so that I can be in the other one. And she was like, this never happened before, but ideally in like 6 months, you could take a few little exams with our teachers and they can decide if you're like grown enough to go into the 5 hour class. I'm like, great. So I went to private teachers and everything and I did it. So since then, I don't know. Like that was one of the other occurrences in my life when I was very just find my own path kind
Yeah.
of kid.
Yeah, I really hear the agency in that, even at that young age, being like, mom, I've got
Excuse
a
me.
different idea here. Before we keep going, I also wanted to say hi to old timer and OG in our community, Exodus. Exodus is joining us on Twitch. Hi, Exodus. It's good to see
Hello.
you. Exodus has been in the community calls for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Like when I say we're a tight knit community, Exodus is what I'm talking about. Like
He's
it's
the
this,
day one.
yeah. Exodus, you get it. Um, Speaking of community, Guild, which is the project you've been working on, if anyone's curious, you can check it out at guild.xyz, has quickly, from my understanding and perspective, become one of the more prominent, popular tools for communities in the Web3 space to use to do things like gating and organizing and trying to, we're in this like Cambrian explosion of trying shit out in Web3. And so on the one hand, that means we've got a wide open design space where it's like, oh, cool, we've got like ERC20 tokens and we've got ERC721 NFTs. But how are we going to stick the landing on implementing those in like really clear, easy to understand ways for folks that are brand new to the space or brand new to a particular community? Because there's so much complexity. And part of the job of a lot of founders and bidlers is to take the complexity of what's possible or what currently exists and dial it down into a user experience that's simple enough to still be powerful, right? We constantly say Web3 has a design problem. So whether or not you agree with that statement, I want to highlight that guild.xyz, both as like a product, a platform, if you go to guild.xyz and as someone like me who's in charge of a community are thinking about implementing it, I think it's a pretty straightforward process to understand how they've set up like their GUIs to be able to do some of this stuff. And then more importantly, once you've set it up, the people in your community that are joining, and it's like day one, have an experience of like, am I allowed to join? If there's a requirement, what is it? And then do I got to connect this or that or the other and verify? So this potentially very complex system is part of what Guild is trying to solve and streamline. Did I do a pretty good job summarizing?
Very good. I love
Okay,
this.
great. Yeah, you can hire
Just
me.
had to say that.
So,
That's such a good like POV
mhm. Yeah, from the
from
like
someone who's
community builder
using it.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to that end, I really appreciate truly, like I'm going to get schmaltzy here for a second. This is one of the most important design problems and like spaces to play in, not just in Web3, but like globally right now. We are on the heels of industrial age, which shattered existing communities as family members moved to cities and away from their local communities to be able to get money and send back to their families. And then in the information age, even regardless of your class. Now we've got people going to university and then you make friends at university and then they end up moving to different states for their jobs. And there's this constant turnover in community. And none of us have the stability of being geographically close to the people that know us and care about us over the course of our entire life. That's been shattered over the last 150 years globally. So in the wake of the destruction of community in the familiar sense, we've been grasping at the ways to fill this hole in our heart. And a lot of adults post college, where it's easy to find friends in social situations, have stared directly into the black reality of how lonely we are in the wake of some of these contextual factors I'm talking about. Then COVID came and fucking sped the whole thing up. So great. Now we're really alone. I'm literally in a bedroom talking to you and reaching out,
Distancing.
screaming into the void to try to, connect with folks like Space Falcon, who's here. Good to see you, Space, and Exodus, and anyone else that's like just trying to find a place where you belong, find a place where you can contribute and feel seen and useful and feel a sense of meaning. Or even if that's too much, just to make some friends and share some laughs along the way. So, to the extent that building communities digitally is super hard because, like, if it's just text based, how intimate can you really get? And really important because this is a core human need that's currently lacking in modern society. How do you hope guild.xyz fits into that space? Which piece of that is it trying to support or augment or make easier? Like, what's the real like home run vision of what it's trying to do?
I think that comes really close to what you were explaining is the feeling of loneliness. And I'm a true believer that the internet used to be and still is a shared experience. It's just kind of hard to find that these days. And Guild is working on making that happen again and make it feel like a shared experience again. So we started from a very like graspable one little thing to solve, which was access control and access management. Great. How does that become like a big internet connector, people connector thing? But it already shows right now there's like a crypto winter, as they say. Some communities have settled down. They are not really functional anymore because of different situations, but there's still a handful of communities that are even more active than ever before. And I see also a lot new ones forming. And they are on our platform as well. And that is so good to see that we get to be a part of making that happen by like managing the memberships, making these communities more immortal a little bit, that they are not restricted to be born on one platform like Discord or some other like chat application or a Telegram group or anything, but have their own entity that transcends this and can be transported from one to the other and has multiple outlets at the same time. So when you're part of a guild, you're part of the community, and a guild is the whole community, but that community exists on multiple different platforms at the same time if you wish so. So it's not like, oh, I have my friends in Instagram, or I have my one server that is really, really good for me that I like hanging out in. And, there's not this different context of it. That's not a thing anymore, which is super nice. And yeah, I feel like that's the like core part of that. And I'm really happy that we're contributing to individuals really expressing their identity, and while also being part of this shared group identity, kind of like this group, like what you share, that you share as like experiences, what you like, what you're interested in. These are all part of the same experience, and they're all part of you as the individual. That's why you're there. And it's also a fully shared thing for the whole community. And I think that's really beautiful to be able to express it even more. And not just because of like blockchain stuff, but this technology is really, really, really powerful to bring us to a more connected internet experience. And I really like participating in that.
I'm going to take a moment here to pin some of the comments from as we were speaking.
Cute.
Space Falcon has like a lot of creative energy. Like Space, you remind me a lot of like some of my high school friends actually in that way. So thank you so much
That's
for being here.
cool.
He's like shared some really good ideas via email and Discord recently. And then also Dax, who's here. Dax, if I'm like 95% sure, is in one of the Encode boot camps, right, Dax? And so a very good example of someone that's like been around, saw an opportunity to learn more in community through our bootcamp thing and just dove right in. So Dax, are you in the one that's finishing today or the one that finished last week? And then I also wanted to give a shout out to Michael K for being here. Hi, Michael. It's good to see you. Last week's. So congratulations, Dax, on being done.
Congrats.
I'm really sad I couldn't make last week's presentations. I happened to have a conflict, but on Friday, Dax, if you're willing to come on the community call and share a little bit of how it was for you, that'd be extremely valuable. Or even feet to the fire, see how like Reka and I are just kind of shooting the shit right now and chatting. I would love to just chat with you more long form because the community calls are often very packed. So if you'd like to share your experience as a participant, as a community member, that would mean a lot to me. So we can follow up. But back to our conversation. Thank you, Dax. Yeah, like for example, let's take a look at the format we're in this exact moment. Two of us chatting, 7 lovely community members watching live, and then an unknown number of people that will watch afterward. And
Yeah.
so in what sense is this activity that is currently taking place either an instantiation of the community or community building, right? What does and doesn't it do in the context of this like big global crisis that I was talking about, this like loneliness that we're feeling?
I feel like live streams have a really big space to fill in that. And it's like we were talking about the other day as well. It's that video as it is, it's the big driving force of any form of media right now. And kind of with a good reason, because like you're saying, it's more of bigger importance every day that we feel more connected, and through video is the like biggest chance that we can achieve that. Like I'm on TikTok at least an hour every day because it knows me so well by now that I have like it feels like I have friends there, even though I'm seeing that person for the first time on my For You page. But it's like so close to my interest that it feels like a community. And I feel like live streams are very, very similar to that. So what we're doing right now, and especially if you like have little nuggets that you share separately too, other than just like creating a lot of content, it gives more and more like little points where people can latch onto and feel seen and feel connected. And I feel like that's really, really nice. And live streams on the other thing that they also do is that they feel very much like a conversation, like a podcast. Like no wonder podcasts are so hot right now. Like they have risen like a crazy amount in the past 3 years, like their engagement and interest. Um, so yeah, like no wonder, because a lot of people feel like if they found a creator that has like a schedule and like posts or is live on like a regular basis, it feels really nice to have that in the background, feel a sense of belonging. I also had quite a few Twitch streamers back a few years ago that I used to listen to like every Wednesday, every Tuesday. They would have like a big live stream for a few hours. I would just do my little internet things and they were just there in the background and I would look, sometimes watch and comment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does give you a sense of belonging and, like a adjacent friend group almost.
Yeah. I definitely have had plenty of streamers over the last decade where I would watch them like every night until 1 a.m. Like it was just a part of my rhythm, like a part of my life. Like, oh yeah. And then, after dinner, I'll like go hang out here. Like, and the fact that it's live and the fact that there's like a back and forth, even if it's limited to like a chat
Yeah.
interaction for a lot of cases, like, I don't know. For me, I have a background in improv comedy. And so, like, on the one hand, you don't prepare anything in advance. And so you would think, like, oh, this is going to be really low quality. But the real driving value and magic there is simply the fact that it's live. Like, it's an electric connection, even in this example, across the literal ocean. And for everyone who's watching live, like, the, like, we can't even see your faces. We don't know your real names. But the fact that we're sharing a moment together, I don't know. I think there's something in our hearts as humans where we're just like, yeah, this is cool. Like, this is very different than watching a YouTube video, actually. Like, even if the
Yeah.
conversation's a little rambly, like, this is a real thing that's happening right now with real people. And even if it's limited, like, the medium's the message, like, okay, we've got like a chat group that limits us as a medium. But I still think there's something there. So much there that people will watch the recorded version of it with no video. And that's called a podcast. And like you said, they're getting super popular.
Yeah. They're doing great.
Question for you, Reka, coming straight from Space Falcon. How
Woohoo.
do guilds connect people? Thank you, Space.
Awesome question. Well, guilds are a guild means a whole community in itself. So if Derek would make one, he would probably make one for Spork DAO as a full community. And that has like an unlimited number of roles and specific like interest groups within. So you could create like as small granularity as you'd like. You could have like admins and contributors and all these basic things that we all know about. But the like details that you can define and like identify each other by is truly insane. Like all your online history or part of your online history as more and more integrations. We're having more and more integrations, and based on that, not just on-chain things are becoming requirements. So like I, for example, have one. I have a guild where I I have people who can enter on a free basis just by connecting a wallet, and I do have a 101 course as a requirement, which is just like an online um, little test that you can do with a few questions, and then you get an on-chain badge for it. And that's one of my roles in my guild. And then I also have a free claimable mirror NFT that was only claimable for a time. So I know that those people were engaged with my stuff for that amount of time. So I fully drill like know I can curate to those people because I know what they were interested in, what type of content I made that made them mint this NFT. Um, and so on. But in our own guild community, we have, I think, like 12 roles right now, and they're super different based on what type of engagement our community is favoring in. And we just made those roles based on them. So we do have one for maxis, who are like people in our community that like do everything. And they like, with all of our new integrations or features that come out, we set new requirements and they just do everything. They're crazy. They're like almost like testers. Um, so they're really, really nice. And we do have a role for people who only like to attend our events, or they just the people like we can mark them with these roles who come to our events regularly. So yeah, that's pretty cute. Also, I see we have a new bot comment. That's really interesting.
Don't worry, they're blocked.
That's on YouTube too. I think Twitch is much more safe for that now. It's about
I guess.
adult opportunities for late night activities.
Which I'm not against. It's just not the right place.
Yeah, it's the wrong place, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you that like from that, from my perspective, like I won't say as an avatar, that feels so dehumanizing.
As an avatar?
Yeah, well, I don't actually really know how like product management goes or any of this stuff really. Like my background's being a high school teacher. So every time I'm talking to somebody about like whether it's marketing or being a founder or being a developer, I'm like, I don't know what like it means to create a ticket for an issue on GitHub and to merge the pull request into the main
Yeah.
branch, but like I can figure it out. So in that same way, like I'm constantly trying to use words I hear people use to see whether I understand them. So, like, as an avatar, you might have thought about where I'm the community steward, the person who would be setting up the guild. I'm hearing that there's like a surprising depth of complexity that's possible when it comes to checking what people's history are, both on chain and off, and that it can be like time bound. It could be like you got to pass this test. That's something we've thought about a lot. And one of our Buffercorn Ventures portfolio companies, Tavern Keeper, which is this sick Discord bot that does like more onboarding and lore type stuff, aims to fill a similar niche of like, I want to guide you through a curated set of like
information and
onboarding experiences just to like help solve the current problem, at least in like Web3 Discord communities, which is you show up, you click a green check mark or solve a CAPTCHA, and then you're given the verified role and you can see all 100 channels in the server and you're just like blown out. Like, I have no idea where I am. This is so overwhelming. Imagine you walk into somebody's house, but instead of being in their foyer with like 2 rooms you can see, it's just like there's no roof and you're looking at it from the top and you're like, okay,
like
which of the 100 rooms? Exactly, like Sims. Like, which one should I go in? I have no idea what these rooms are. So we're trying in our server, in our community, to like have a bit like intentionally titrate, intentionally create friction. So it's like, welcome. You have to read about who we are before you can go to the
I just
introduce
did that
yourself.
like 4 days ago, and I just clicked through. So that's probably like a...
I read a tweet a long time ago where somebody who's a designer was like, I just learned, they did like I forget what it's called, where you look over the shoulder of a user who's going through the thing you made so you can kind of see how they use
UX research.
UX research. They were doing UX research and they were like, just learned something that I've known for a long time. When you design something, people and people are interacting with it, their eyes gloss over, they go into a fugue state, and they hallucinate and click random things to try to get from wherever they are to wherever they're trying to be as fast as possible.
Yep. They
And
don't
we have
read.
found this in the ETH Denver application, for example. There's so many things that we say so many times, like you have to put your full wallet address in the OX blah, blah, blah form, no.ens. We say that so many times, and people give us their ENS address. We say, do not submit two applications. It will completely mess things up, and whatever problem you think you're trying to solve, it'll make it worse. Only
Now I'm
submit one
thinking that,
application.
now I'm thinking, did I give my ENS?
Cut two, we get literally hundreds of these questions rolling in each day from people in Discord and via our email. It's just like, oh, what's happening? Why didn't it work? And I'm like, you want me to spend 5 hours a week responding to something that we already explained to you what not to do?
I'm
And
wondering. I'm
I
wondering
start
if
to
I
lose
messed
my
it
mind,
up
right?
now.
Yeah, no, I'm and the reality here, just to have compassion for the people that are hallucinating and ignoring all the road signs, is like, we're busy. You want me to read every word? No, I'm like halfway context. I got a podcast in the background. I'm stressed about this thing at work, and I got to get this application done within 5 minutes. I'm not going to sit there and like take 3 deep breaths and mindfully read every word and have it take 3 times as long. Like, of course not. So I have a lot of empathy. I'm of the design philosophy, like for example, it's a systems problem. Instead of saying please don't put your .ens, ideally there's a thing where it does a validation, and if they put a .ens, it's like error, you can't do that or something. So that's
What
also
happens if
on
someone
us.
puts that in?
The answer has even changed this week to last, because we saw like our system is iterating as people find very creative ways to fuck it up. We're like introducing, like updating a wallet address, for example, happens to be way harder than you would think. Because if you, Reka, want to come to ETH Denver and want to give us your wallet, and want to become a SporkDAO member, let's assume this is what happened. You said, I would like to become a member of SporkDAO. You read our member agreement, which basically says you're a member. You don't really have to do anything. We collect no fees, and welcome to ETH Denver. Thanks for contributing value to our community. And you give us your name and your wallet. And then we've got over on our secure database your name and your wallet, and this like list of names that are officially members in our official co-op. Like it's an LCA in Colorado. It's a co-op. Like it's not just a Web3 DAO. It's also a co-op in the state of Colorado, which means if somebody walks up and sends us an email like, hi, I'm Reka, I gave you a wallet address that was an old one, or I don't have access, or it's since been compromised, or whatever, I need you to update it to this other one. We can't actually do that legally, because you're the one who told us what your wallet is. And now we've got this email from somebody claiming to be you saying, make it this instead. And our hands are tied, because like when it comes to these kinds of things, we have to validate that you're actually Reka. Like, what are we going to implement a whole separate UX where you use the original wallet to sign that you want to change it to the second one? And suddenly we've got legal problems on our hands simply because somebody wants to update their wallet address. So that's one of like 8 examples of how our team is getting like blown out of the water this week, just as applications are getting battle tested. And the reason I tell that story is it's a non-trivial problem to create UX experiences that simply and meaningfully accomplish whatever goal you have for that particular piece of UX, whether it's like helping someone register or helping someone gain some information about the community. You can't just build it and assume people are going to read, or if you build it, they will come. That's just not how it works. We live in a world where you need to be like really empathetic and attuned to the way that actual humans do things. Because the number of community managers or other designers I've spoken to that are just like, why didn't they read it? I'm like, that's on you. We know for a fact people don't read things. You designed your system in a way where it breaks if people don't read things. That's on you. Don't blame them. We know human nature. So I don't know. I take the responsibility. I'm like, if I've designed a system and a good chunk of people are getting confused or whatever, that's on me. I designed it poorly. I don't know. How's that land for you?
Yeah, I feel that. And I'm so interested why you guys have a actual legal corporation. Well, we don't have to discuss it right now, but like that
Maybe we
seems
can.
like that, that seems scary to me. But just in like also maybe unnecessary. Like I don't know, maybe because of funding situations or whatever you needed, but um yeah. Maybe yeah, because of like the whole organizing events and stuff. I get it. Okay. Um, okay, cool. Well, we also had similar experiences with Guild for a long time. Is we have a very meticulous lead UX person. He's amazing. He thinks all of these through, and somehow, like a lot of these use cases, and then somehow there's still like minor things that fall through the cracks, which I think as like you're explaining right now that all of these issues are coming up, they can be fixed in the UI, in the full user experience and their interface. And good thing that they're coming up because next time it's not going to be there because you can fix it. We did a lot of that in the recent year of iteration. Not necessarily like our Explorer has been the same. It's the same boring Explorer, just a batch of all the guilds that are in existence that are not private. And the rest, though, the like creating requirements and roles and rewards are whole like more important structures for communities. We have iterated that small amounts, but we've iterated that like four
Hmm.
times
Hmm.
this last year just because we found gaps in our UX that came from our support questions and what people messed up before, like before us guiding them better. So I feel like the support questions that you're dealing with are a great pointer of what you need to fix.
Yeah. And these are all brand new systems. Like our entire registration flow is using new platforms and new systems we didn't use last year. So the expectation was there'd be a lot of friction. Question to you from Dax. Hi, Dax. Glad you're still here.
Ooh.
When Twitter integration on Guild.xyz?
Oh, we do have one. It's for on the requirement side because we do have requirements, roles, and then rewards. Requirements are the little like rules that you set that people have to qualify for to be able to get a role and then access a reward, which is usually access to something or an ability to do something. And on the requirement side, we do have Twitter. It's who follows this account or who do you follow? So, follower question, and then also how many followers you have. And we're just coming out with an update that's doing are you in someone's Twitter circle, I think? And then have you retweeted, have you liked this, and something else, like the more juicy Twitter pack. So it's going to be really fun. We already use the how many followers you have in our guild because it helps a little bit in like the bot typey, spammy curation so that we set that a guilder person has to have 20 followers, which is very easy to break with bots because you can just create 20 bots or ask or follow people to follow you. Like that's not a big barrier, but it helped a little bit. It's more complicated to have Twitter on the reward side because what we already had requests for and would love to do is have Twitter as a reward so you can have like a private Twitter feed or a Twitter community that is guild gated. So like all these other systems that we have, all these different requirements, you can have it and gate a Twitter community. That would be great. But that's not in their API and we didn't want to hack something together, although we could, but it's like we're becoming a bigger, more official tool, so we can't do that anymore that
Mm-hmm.
easily. So yeah, we do have Twitter a little bit.
Is it the kind of thing where if there was a requirement that used the Twitter API and then the next day you no longer met that requirement, that it's periodically checking whether you're still meeting these and it could remove a role, or is it only checking at that moment?
No, it's we are constantly checking, which actually we do have some like upgrades on that because the Twitter API has like a really small rate limit, which just means we cannot ask continuously on a 200,000 people guild if these people still follow your account. Though we have to batch these requests and like send it separately, but we're scaling that so we can check even quicker, but definitely more than once a day, I think, still.
I just got a sort of like Hunger Games visual where the requirement is a number that's increasing, say every week. And it's like It's like popular club only. You can stay if you have
That's so
20,000
cool.
followers and then 25,000 followers. And people are like, oh no, I need to growth hack so I can stay in the
So
club.
you follow me.
I love it. Just like, sorry, can't keep up with the sharks.
That's so cool. Okay, I have to
Or
implement
you
that
could
in
do it
my
with the
like
tokens too, where it's like, yep,
marketing
only
one.
whales. It's like, gotta keep buying or
Oh.
you can't hang out anymore. Like, I don't like these particular incentives, but that's why I think it's funny. Is like, imagine your community was that aggressive.
I mean, we could so do that. And that's why we have end requirements as well. So we could do, if I set multiple requirements for a certain role, I could say own this NFT and this NFT and this one. And they're like more expensive later editions or something. You have to be
Mm,
present to claim it and have like, if it's a free NFT, but still you have to be present in the time to claim it. If it's paid, then you have to have the funds for that. So it depends what you want to curate based on. But yes, that like I really like the Hunger Games idea.
question for you and for everyone listening. Um, we're putting this out for free and we're not gating it. The intention is to make it as easy to access as possible.
Yeah.
And that's why it's on YouTube and Twitch. If we wanted to make it much harder to access the exact same conversation, this could be a video chat in a token gated channel in a Discord server. Exact same conversation with the exact same people, but a different mechanism and a different goal. So, from my perspective as a community builder, um, on a part of me wants things to be as accessible as possible, both for visibility and also to reduce barriers. I'm not very interested in keeping people out for the sake of keeping people out.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you've got people that are like, but where's the utility and where's the intimacy? We should only
Hmm.
be doing it behind the closed doors because that's where I can relax and let my shoulders
Yeah.
down and be a little more profane. And I don't want it
Yeah.
live streamed. So, how do you think about in the context of community building and just ongoing conversation, the relationship between public and private and the way particular platforms kind of shape that?
It's such a good question. I think about this so much. I actually wrote an article recently for Adam Levy's like Vault experience where he token gated a bunch of content from a lot of good writers. And then he like had this minting process and then he released it. So for a while it was only available for people who subscribed and minted, and then it was released to the public, which is also a good like experiment for this, that it first it's private and then it's public. It's called Future of Relationships and like relationship scaling. And I think about this a lot, that on a very big believer that an aspect or some extent of exclusivity creates inclusivity with itself. And I also read another piece that was like scaling intimacy in groups, and like groups naturally become more of like a megaphone type situation when they grow, and people don't feel safe to express their opinions. They not like they can't disagree sometimes. They also cannot like share their cheer as much. And how do we like keep it safe and fun and on point and based on everyone's interest? And to your point as well, how do we make it more still very like accessible and inclusive, but still have this like behind the scenes feeling of like, this is our group, this is, we got here because we really want to be here type of vibe, and not everybody gets to see in. We can have private safe conversations. And my only answer to that, what I found, is what we're doing in our community too, which is granularity and like having a lot of layers like an onion. So we do have like a foyer. We have people can come in, ask any support question, because our server turned into a lot of like support situation because we're a tool. So that happens. So that's the outer layer for anyone. And then there's like a very basic layer where people who like actually want to join the community but don't need to satisfy any actual like fun requirements, they get the general things. And then we go deeper and deeper in respect with people's interests, involvement, proof of humanhood, kind of like how old is your Discord account? It has to be more than 6 months old. So you don't just create it today, come and farm or like abuse or something. The Twitter thing, so like full social things. Having completed this test about our community, which is this very little fun 5 minute or 3 minute little course about what our community stands for. So that with that, it's fully free, but it requires some like wanting to do it. So then I let you in one layer in. It's still fully free, but I made it so that you have to want to get in, and you can, like, I don't have to allow you to come in, you can automatically get in.
Permissionless.
And then there's like, yeah, it's still permissionless, but it's still like gated. And the more integrations we have, the more spicy this comes. I'm so like, I'm very passionate about like the combinations, and you also have to keep updating them because there's a lot of like social farming going on these days, which is very exciting. It's a different, another like very cool topic. And in my vision, a community, like, it's also like an onion, but it's also like an octopus. Like, it has this big head where everybody can join, and then it breaks off into like different arms, where that's the granularity part. That's how I imagine the granularity part is. It is like, it just breaks off into these arms based on people's interests. So like, are you more of a community manager? Are you a developer? Are you like an admin fully and have like 100 people in your guild at least? Are you, I don't know, just here for our events or here to vibe with us? What's your interest in the community? And then those can overlap, they can cross, but they also go way deeper. So like, I could have the admins have like 50 people guild admins, so like, you know, they're beginner community leaders, and they're people who have like 100,000 people in their guilds. They're like, they've been doing this for some time, so I can know how much attention I have to pay for them, like what type of education I can help them with the best. So this granularity also allows the community mod manager, like someone like yourself, to know how to help better. And that's super important. That makes your job way easier and better. And it also makes the whole community experience so much, it elevates it so much, because they, like, you feel heard. You know, the other people who are also in that group also got there because they're interested, and they're that type of people. They also got in because they also satisfy the same requirements as you have. So you share a lot of yourself or your interest with them. So yeah, I feel like those little spaces that you still have a major, like, thousands of people, big space where everybody can, you know, you can share your bigger content and everything. But if you have a piece of content or an idea that is very much catered to like a developer audience, you might not want to share it with everyone, or periodically you can, so you can funnel people into a spot that they feel comfortable in because they're like dev interested people. But you for sure will share it with the other developers that are in your channel for developers. So I feel like that's a pretty good solution. I also love mixing it with more and more like bot protecting things, because we've had some trouble with those lately. Farming POAPs and stuff, it's a pretty big thing. But yeah, so that's one of my favorite solutions for that. It's the octopus onion thing. It's, you have to have a lot of layers.
Yeah, the onion resonates for me. My like mental model of communities definitely includes the onion thing. Like, there's this research on like old communities. We're talking like back to villages and basket weaving. Like, how do we structure our groups? And this highly academic term, LPP, legitimate peripheral participation, which means like, I'm new, I'm going to hang out on the sides, not really talk to anyone, but like look around, kind of see how things go. And then naturally, as you hang out more and more, you learn the culture, the how we do things around here, the particular words. You start to understand by consumption how you would fit in and what you might do. And then you start to baby step in towards that next ring, which is like your first contribution, whether that's saying hi or maybe even helping out with some small piece, even if you don't understand the whole thing. I think one of the main things community managers could be doing better is to structure the onboarding process so that somebody can jump from I'm new here to I've done something as fast as possible without having to understand how we do the sub guilds and the proposal process and
Mm-hmm.
the endowment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, like, welcome. We need your help with this particular thing. Here's like a short list of 3 things, each of which is easy to do with very little context. Do any of them and then post that you did it over here. And then as a community manager, you hype the fuck out of that person. You're like, what? Space Falcon's brand new here and they're already contributing ideas over in the suggestions channel. Let's go, Space Falcons. Let's go. Because that feeling of being genuinely recognized
Recognize.
for contributing
Yeah.
and being useful to other people that you're beginning to care about is what is a prerequisite for like belonging. Like, what does it mean to belong? We don't know all of each other's identities, so that can't be the prerequisite, but it can just be the piece of you that I do see. I see it, I acknowledge it, I appreciate it. Our community is better for you being here. And that, even though it's like a day one, week one experience, can lock somebody into like a level of devotion that's true. Like, hell yeah, I'd rather hang out here than the 12 other Discord servers I'm in because I don't even know who I am. So I totally vibe with the like, and then, you go on to like, okay, and then your regulars, your OGs like Dax, Space Falcon that are hanging out here. And then at the core, like your core team or whatever. So in terms of responsibility and like amount of time, that makes sense to me. And then
Yeah.
if only there were a way to merge these models where it's like, oh, Beam's here? Beam, I fucking love you. If there were Beam Me Up
Whoa.
now is like true OG. Like back when I was doing Code Along with Derek every Tuesday for 3 hours, it was literally just me and Beam hanging out and watching like Solidity tutorials for 3 hours a week together alone. Like
Cute.
that's community building. It's just me and Beam becoming besties. But yeah, I wonder if there's a way to like turn this 2D model 3D where like the rings come in toward the
That's the
middle.
octopus.
But then how? So what? The octopus's head is the part that's got these like spherical, like the earth,
like
right?
the
Like
octopus's
mantle.
head is where everybody's in, and then it gets shrink and like
and then
it
you
gets
get
smaller.
in enough to be able to go. This is not a
Yeah.
perfect metaphor, but I like the idea.
It's how I see it. Like
No,
I don't know
yeah,
what
no,
else is close. Maybe like branches, but that's like, how a tree branches and even the roots or anything. Like if you go
yeah.
the opposite way.
I'm looking for a way to mix it with that first thing though. That like
Mm,
moving from the outside to the inside, and
yeah.
then at a certain point you're able to branch out.
Hmm.
Maybe there's multiple overlapping like Venn diagram circles toward the middle. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
oh, this is an article.
Yep. It's very juicy. Although I could never, because I'm using Figma. I use all of the different things, and I have such big trouble always making Venn diagrams, even though I love them. I can never make the overlap looks always very funny.
Yeah, we go for
Yeah.
janky here. Check out the Restream logo. Shall we find a graceful, abrupt ending
Yeah.
to this version of the conversation? Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing a little bit of time with me.
Thanks for getting started with me. This is going to be very fun. The more you do, the more fun they're going to get.
Yeah. My invitation to everyone who's listening, specifically like Dax, Space, Beam, is I don't know, like tell us what was your favorite aspect of this right now? Like in the next 30 seconds, type right now, like, oh, I'm so glad you did this because blank.
It's
Because
hard.
we're trying to figure out which aspects of this are worth keeping and which aspects we might tweak. Like, for example, is the fact that it's live important or the fact that it's easy to access important?
I have to say, the pink you can change, and I feel like it's not the vibe.
First of all, that's SporkDAO brand pink. It's our primary
Oh,
brand
okay.
color,
Then I didn't
hex
say
code
anything then.
D829FC. But
Okay.
I also agree with
I
you.
didn't
It's
say anything.
very pink. We have a nice purple we could try out. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're
Also,
aggressively millennial in our branding.
I love it. Good for you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll I'm I'll let you go in a moment here. I'm also like Dax Space Beam. I asked you a question. I expect an answer in the next 30 seconds, or I'm banning you from the server. Thank you, Beam. I like the live, but would like a ping for the next one. Okay, so let's honor that request, and then you can
Good
get out of here.
feedback.
Reka, if we were gonna make this a weekly thing, is there a day of the week that works best for you?
No, we can arrange that async.
We'll figure it out. I just wanted
Yeah.
to, and then we will do the community the favor of letting you know more than the second it starts when it's going to happen.
Yep.
Sweet.
That's the
And
move. Like it could even change times, but if you let them know
yeah,
beforehand and it's kind of in the time zone, it probably works.
yeah, and we've got our community calendar where we'll post it too next time.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you, Reka. That's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah,
See you
absolutely.
later.
See you later. And then everyone who's watching, thank you so much for being here. You know where to find us on Twitter and Discord. Twitter.com/Ethereum Denver and Discord.gg/SporkDAO. I love you all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.